didn't, the Leafs' comfort level with playing Hildeby in a bunch of those games and not just forcing him to play. How many did he go in a row? Like 6, 7? It was something along those lines.
Yeah, was it Wool that played 8 or 9 in a row?
Wool did do that, and then he got hurt. But I'm saying at the very beginning of the year when there was no Wool, how many games, and it was Caden Primo, and they were just leaning so heavily on Stolarz. If you limit his workload and you put him behind this team the way that they're playing right now, my belief that he is going to struggle and be an issue, and that there's going to be real talking points of they got to get Hildeby back up here, and what do they do because they can't play this guy? I'm not buying it. It's just not something that I believe is realistic.
Even if that does happen, you can just bring Hildeby up and spot him starts and play him when you want to. I mean, so I just don't see it as a big issue. And you're right, though. The other one thing that Stolarz does have a lot of experience at is coming back from injuries in the middle of a season and hitting the ground running. You know, he's put up those numbers you're talking about while not playing a lot, in part because he gets hurt a lot. So I think you're right. I think he'll be fine. We don't know what he's dealing with, though, right? And we don't know what kind of procedures he's had. And he's been out a long time, and he's a big man. So I wonder if there's a conditioning stint maybe they do here. I mean, I wonder if he plays with the Marlies a game or two, the way that Wool did when he was coming back. And maybe that prolongs the idea of a Stolarz return until after the Olympic break.
You have the luxury of time. You don't need to rush him back whatsoever. I don't get the sense that they are. But when I look at the Olympic break, part of me goes, all right, maybe he wants to feel the puck. Maybe he wants to play in a game before this break settles in and they're off for essentially a month. But my true feeling is, hey, man, what's that really going to do? What's 1 or 2 games? And I don't even think it's going to be 2 games because we're already January 13th here. And I think the Olympic break kicks in, I think after the 4th of February, somewhere around there. First week of February is when they play their last 2 games against Calgary and Edmonton. Just take the time. Just you've done it enough, like you mentioned, over the course of your career where you've hit the ground running after an injury. This is totally about the long haul for you and what you can do come playoff time. The goaltending's in a great spot. There's no need to rock the boat. Take as much time as you need. Get back fully healthy. Use that added month. Just recuperate. Anyways, James Myrtle of The Athletic, thanks as always for making time, buddy. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, JD.
See you, man. Quick break. I want to come back. Oof. I don't know if this is what Steelers fans wanted. Clearly you would want to win, but there's got to be some part of you feeling right now, maybe this is it. Maybe this is now time for a look under the hood. That's next. So the one bonus of having a 10 o'clock start for the Leafs on night playing was that I didn't have to do any recordings and watch stuff later. I got to just jump into the Raptors game and the Steelers-Texans game. I'm going to talk about the Raptors with Joe Casciaro after the break. That was an easy one to turn off. I actually, unfortunately, missed... I caught the Kyle Lowry stuff through social media. I didn't see it live. And I all full well knowing the way that game was going, that he was going to get on the floor at some point and there was going to be a cool moment. And I think that the Raptors did an incredible job. There's one thing, they're unassailable when it comes to the way that they honor former players, and this was certainly one of those cases. Rightfully so. It's Kyle Lowry, for God's sakes. So, Steelers-Texans. First half, my only takeaway is I don't know if I've seen a quarterback play worse than CJ Stroud. That was painful. You got a defense that is just completely balling out. And a game script where you might just need to get to 12 points. And, well, that not maybe, because that's what played out, but it felt like that during the game is get 12 points, Houston Texans, and you probably win this game. Aaron Rodgers does not want to hold on to the football. DK Metcalf dropped the biggest pass of the game and was largely invisible throughout the contest. He got one matchup that wasn't on Stingley where he had a big play, but outside of that, he was pretty irrelevant. They're trying to do the Gainwell stuff that they did against the Baltimore Ravens a week before, and you go, yeah, it's a bit of a different story here than Ravens D with no Kyle Hamilton playing the Houston Texans, who fly around on that side of the ball. Terrifying. So just take care of the football. And CJ Stroud refuses to do it. He looked nervous. It was a skittish performance. The fumbles were clear-cut situations where he's uncomfortable, but he's trying to force something to happen when he should just be eating it. The interception in the second half, you're looking at it and going, I actually think the Steelers voodoo might show up here. This is a team that all season long felt quite fraudulent. A team where if you bet against them and they ended up ruining your parlay or your bet, you went, what? What? This team? Steelers are putrid. Flat out. I thought their defense showed up. They played great. TJ Watt was impactful early. Thought that Porter was making plays. Their secondary was playing awesome, and they were playing physical. They knocked Nico Collins out of the game. You hope he's healthy for next week, but getting carted off with a concussion, probably not a great sign for your ability to go a week later, 6 days later. But yeah, I kept thinking, man, oh man, they're going to find a way to pull out this game, and Aaron Rodgers will have a moment. Aaron Rodgers, it's him versus this version of CJ Stroud. Surely he's going to make one play happen. God, the Steelers might only need a field goal. It doesn't materialize. Fourth quarter, CJ Stroud makes an incredible throw on third down. I think it was like 3rd and 11, 3rd and 10. He whips it down the field. It's like 40 yards to Christian Kirk, who Jaguars fans are watching going, hey, thanks for doing that with us. Where was this? Where was yesterday's 100-yard performance from Christian Kirk with in a huge game? We would have liked that. And so the story becomes two things. One is how far that Texans three. How far can that Houston Texans defense take them? Because if you're the Patriots, you just can't be comfortable watching that. Thinking, we're going to come out of this all right. I think that if you're the Bills or the Broncos, I would think that they would actually rather play the Patriots, despite the better record and the clear-cut better quarterback who played, honestly, kind of a closer game to CJ Stroud when you think about it than most Patriots fans would like to admit. Like, he did have the turnovers. He was trying to do the same thing where he's holding on to the ball too long in the pocket, and he put together an awesome fourth quarter, which is what CJ Stroud did. But by that point, you could tell the Steelers were just defeated. Like, how many times can you put the offense on the field and have 3 and outs where it's just a little check down pass and a guy gets drilled, an incomplete pass because Rodgers doesn't want to take the contact and he just whips it out of bounds, and then a 3rd down sack. That was the form. It was all game long. They could not move the football. So the story becomes that Texans defense really might be the best unit left in the entire postseason. Like, that is unquestionably not on the or off the table. CJ Stroud, huge question mark. A guy that we all looked at as one of the next ones. A guy that gave Caleb Williams famously the advice after that football game, and Caleb Williams has soared past him in terms of league relevancy. So can they overcome that, and can CJ Stroud find his game, and how much do you trust him for a postseason run to beat some of these other teams on the road that don't have a quarterback who's 41 years old and looks like he's ready for retirement with limited weapons? But yeah, the Steelers, they become the bigger story here because you've had Mike Tomlin now for nearly 2 decades, and you haven't won a playoff game since 2016. You've lost 7 straight playoff games. And most Steelers fans, I believe, do not care about his 500 streak that he's put together as a coach. Clearly, there is a high floor with a Mike Tomlin team. You're not going to bottom out. But that has also hurt their plan at quarterback. They have not had a succession plan for Ben Roethlisberger. The entire time it's been Mason Rudolph's and Duck Hodges's, Justin Fields's, Russell Wilson's, and now a 41-year-old Aaron Rodgers who Tomlin's essentially begging to come back because they know there's nothing else there. And Rodgers, listen, if that's it for him, one hell of a career, one of the most talented quarterbacks that I've ever seen. Some of his stats are insane. One of my favorites is out of, like, you look at all the greatest quarterbacks, Aaron Rodgers has thrown 1 touchdown in his career to a guy that was a first-round pick. That's insane. He was unbelievable. truly the scariest quarterback in the NFL for a long stretch, scarier than Tom Brady and scarier than Peyton Manning, and he overlapped with those guys. The things that he could do with his legs, the way that he could throw it on the run, all of those things. But he's just not the same guy. Like, he's not. He doesn't want to take contact, and why would he at his age? Like, it felt painful watching some of those Texans bowl over Steelers offensive linemen and hit him clean. Yeah, he's going to drop the football. Hard to criticize him. So he's probably moving on. But yeah, if I'm the Steelers, I don't know how many more years I can just do the same. I know that you have a cultural thing, but at this point, a decade without a playoff win is really tough pill to swallow. Quick break and then Joe Cacharo. As with most things, the sequel was not as good as the original. Raptors get blown out immediately by the Philadelphia 76ers yesterday. A healthier version of both teams. And I'm not going to focus too much on that today. But really cool the way that they celebrated Kyle Lowry. Really impossible to screw that up. It's Kyle Lowry. You didn't expect that the Raptors would be like, oh, I guess, yeah, this could be his last game. Whatever. I thought that the organization had a lot of great touches, but also it was very cool to see the fans get to celebrate him in that way. So if you're looking at a spin for positives from last night's game, it's that they picked a good moment to get blown out by a team and have it be meaningless, and allowing Kyle Lowry to have that. So Joe Cacharo joins me now of The Score. What's up, buddy? How we doing?
Going on, man? You couldn't have had me on after the Sunday game. Good Lord.
Probably should have done that. Probably should have done the Sunday game. But honestly, I'm not really going to focus on too much from this game because I just don't really think that we learned anything. It was a good performance from Philadelphia, but I'd already texted you a bunch of the topics, and I'm going to stick with them. But I'll start with this. I didn't text you. Do you think the Raptors are clutch or lucky?
I think you have to be lucky to be clutch, if I'm being honest. Like, once you get into that situation pretty frequently where games are coming down to a possession here, a possession there, a bounce there, a bounce here, I mean, you got to be a little lucky, right? So I think luck has been baked into it, but I also think, getting Brandon Ingram, for example, and addressing a need like that is a big part of why they've thrived for the most part in the clutch this season, because they have an actual shot creator and shot maker. I think the offense flows better. Scotty Barnes is making good decisions. So in general, I think it's mostly just that they're a better team, but I'd be lying if I said it had nothing to do with luck, because any team that thrives in the clutch the way they do with